Alex here with another solar generator review. This time we're taking a look at the ALLPOWERS R1500, which is able to output 1800 watts of continuous power. And on this video, I'm gonna show you its features as well as test out the generator to see if it's the right one for you. And before we get started, I'd like to remind you that I place a link in the description down below to this unit in case you'd like to get one for yourself. And this unit comes in at 16 inches wide and is roughly about 12.5 inches tall and about 10.5 inches deep. And for weight, the R1500 comes right underneath 37 pounds. And there are integrated handles on each side of the generator, and underneath the handles it is rubberized, so you do have a nice grip when lifting from them. And the generator has a battery capacity of 1152 watt hours. Now this is what I consider a medium duty generator. There are smaller ones like this guy right here. This one only has a capacity of 300 watt hours. So you want to consider what the use of the generator. If you only need light duty, you might be able to get with a smaller one that don't have a lot of capacity but is portable. But if you want to have enough power for a long time, you want to consider something larger like this ALLPOWERS solar generator. And now let me give you a tour of the front. We get 4 AC outlets with an 1800 watt capacity and 3000 watts peak. Also notice that there are little dust covers on top of each of the AC adapters, and they can actually be pushed in there to keep them nice and protected from the elements. And for USB, we get 4 different USB outlets. 2 are full size and 2 of them are USB-C, capable of power delivery up to 100 watts. And on the opposite side, we get an automotive socket, which is rated at 12 volts, which means it's gonna provide 120 watts maximum output. And again, it has that little dust cover that can be pushed in to seal it from the elements. And finally, we get 2 wireless charging pads on top of the unit. Each one supports 15 watts. And this unit actually supports an app, which I'll show you in a little bit. Another key feature is going to be its battery chemistry. This generator uses lithium iron phosphate batteries, where other generators use lithium ion batteries. And lithium iron phosphate has the advantage that it can be charged many more times than lithium battery before it begins to degrade. So on a typical lithium battery generator, you can probably get away about 1,000 charge cycles before you dramatically start to see the capacity of that generator start to decrease. Basically, the battery wears out. On lithium iron phosphate, you can charge this thousands and thousands of times before you start to see a degradation of the battery. Now there is one trade-off, and that is that lithium iron phosphate is a lot larger in size and it's a lot heavier than lithium battery does. But for my particular take, I prefer a longer battery life for applications where a medium-duty generator is required. And here's one thing that I really like, and that is that on both sides of the unit, we get these push-to-open covers. Here you have the input for the AC, which means that the charger is integrated in this unit. We don't have to carry a separate block with us, a circuit breaker for overload protection, and also that input for solar charging or car charging. And here's the cover on the other side of the unit, and what's underneath this cover is actually 2 expansion ports in case we wanted to expand the total capacity of the solar generator with a maximum of up to 2 more battery packs connected to it. And as far as how long it takes to recharge this unit from the wall outlet, this actually has 3 speeds built in: mute, standard, and fast. And the first speed, which is called mute, is typically going to be used when you want this thing to be charging silently. It is only going to pull about 400 watts, and you should be able to fully recharge this unit from 0 to 100 in about 2 hours. The second speed, called standard, now it's going to be a little bit louder because you're going to have the fans engaged on there, and you can potentially pull up to 1,000 watts to charge this unit, and that brings down the charging time to about an hour. And if you're looking for very fast charging, and if your wall outlet supports it, you can set this thing to fast charging. And on fast charging, this thing is going to pull up to 1500 watts to charge this unit, and you can potentially see that charging time come down to as low as 45 minutes, again from 0% to 100%. But now let me show you the controls, and there's really only 3 buttons to worry about. The very first one, if I press and hold that button, that is going to turn on the unit, and if I want to turn on the outlets in the bottom, I can press this button and the AC output turns on. If I want to turn on the DC output or the charging pads, then I can press this little button right here. Now this button actually does something else. If I press and hold this button down, you'll see that something pops up on the screen, and that is the wireless connection for using this generator with the app. Pressing and holding this button down again turns off the wireless connection. And as far as the display, we get the battery level in percentage, but also in this circle that seems to deplete the lower the battery gets. And we also get an indicator for power coming in, but also more importantly, the total output in case we were using this unit. And what's really handy is that it is gonna do a calculation of roughly with your current usage, how long can you run this unit for. In this particular case, 45 watts, we should be able to run this unit for a conservative 16 or 17 hours. And the display will actually time out and turn off completely while the generator continues to work. However, if you don't want to wait for that timeout, you can dim the display by tapping this button. Again, the generator keeps on working, and if you want to bring up the display again, you can just tap the power button and the display comes on one more time. And here's another interesting feature of this unit, and something you want to consider when thinking about buying one of them is, do you want the power adapter to be separate from the generator, or do you want this guy to be built in inside of it? On this particular generator, the power block is separate, where on this guy right here is built in on the inside of it, and all I need to recharge it is the power cord that is included on it. Now that does make the unit a little bit larger and a little bit heavier, but some people do like the integrated nature of having this inside as opposed to having it separate. And this is how loud the unit is under a heavy AC load. Fairly quiet, but here's an actual decibel reading. And as far as solar charging, this is able to accept up to 650 watts, so you can potentially see charging times with solar of under 2 hours. Now, it is important to remember that a solar panel does not generate 650 watts. You will have to have multiple panels connected if you want to max out the input capacity as far as solar. However, most people like myself find it more convenient to just set up one single large solar panel, even though it might take longer, but there is less setup required. And the app is called ALLPOWERS, and it is available for Apple and Android devices. And the very first thing I'm gonna do is add the generator so it pairs with my phone. Here it is, R1500. And we are shown the battery level and also how much power is going into the unit and how much power we are using. We also have controls for the AC side, and we have controls for the DC side as well. Now what's really interesting is that we can actually switch the generator from 60 Hz to 50 Hz. Now you want to keep that in 60 if you are in the United States, or 50 Hz if you are in Europe. I'm gonna go ahead and shut both of these things down. And we also get these 3 little dots that allow us to rename the generator if we wanted to change that, and also change the charging speed from the slow one, which is the mute or quiet one, to the standard speed or the fast speed. You'll also notice that there is an eco mode on here, and what that is just a timer. If you enable that, the generator is going to automatically turn off after the certain period of time that you select on here, which could be 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, or 6 hours. And I also tested the pure sine wave that comes out of the AC outlets of this unit, and you want to have a good sine wave. Here's what a bad sine wave looks like. This sine wave can potentially damage something that's plugged in into it, or the device may not work at all. And here's what a good sine wave looks like. And this measurement was taken straight from the wall outlet in my house. Now compare that to the output from the ALLPOWERS generator. We have a good sine wave. Now there is just a little bit of noise on that sine wave, but it's so small, I don't think it's gonna matter much or make a difference. Pretty much is not existent, and you're only gonna be able to see that if you have a high quality oscilloscope. We also get pass-through charging, which means we are able to use this while also charging it at the same time. and this unit does support UPS, which is uninterruptible power supply mode, so we can have this hooked up to the wall, and now we can plug a device onto it, and if we were to lose power in our house, it would switch from that AC outlet to the generator's battery in under 15 milliseconds. That way we can keep that device running in case of a power outage emergency. But there are some devices out there that do need a faster switch over time than 15 milliseconds. So for those, you want to have a dedicated UPS. But I think for most other applications, a 15 millisecond time in terms of being able to switch from AC outlet to battery power should be more than acceptable. And we know this unit is rated at 1152 watt hours, but we know that realistically we're not going to be able to pull all that power from it because of efficiency, and that applies to both the DC side and also the AC side. So I tested on the DC side. I put a load on this unit and I drained this all the way from 100 down to 0%, and I was able to get 938 watt hours out of its total capacity of 1152 watt hours. So that gives us an efficiency of 81%. Then I conducted a similar test on the AC outlets, and I put a load on this unit and I drained the battery down to see how much power I could get out of it, and I was able to extract 865 watt hours out of its 1152 watt hour capacity. So that gives us an efficiency of about 75%. Now what's really interesting is that the unit only let me discharge the battery down to 5% during the AC outlet test. So that's where those missing watt hours are, in that 5% reserve, which usually is done to protect the battery. But I found it interesting because when I did that test on the DC side, it did let me drain the battery down all the way down to 0%. That's how I was able to get more watt hours from the DC side than what we saw on the AC outlet. Not sure why they have that 5% reserve on the AC side, but not on the DC side. Usually when I see that on a generator, that reserve applies to the whole thing, or they don't have a reserve at all. This is the first time I see a generator with a reserve only on one side. And in addition to that AC outlet cord, they have also included the cable for the solar panel with an XT60 connector on one of the ends and a little carrying case. That way you can put those things together along with your instruction manual. And optionally available is this automotive charging cable in case you wanted to charge this in your vehicle. So I'll put a link in the description down below to this generator, to the automotive adapter, and to this solar panel that you see back here. Now this one happens to be rated at 200 watts, but ALLPOWERS do have smaller ones and larger ones depending on how fast you are looking to charge this unit using solar energy. And if you guys have any other questions regarding this, please put that in the comments down below. And if you found any part of this video helpful, make sure you hit the like button to support the channel, and stay tuned as I have a lot more generator reviews coming up for you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.